We are starting to see a growing number of companies raise prices because of President Trump's tariffs. And the president has been using one toy as an example of why it's okay that Americans have to pay more. Listen.
Maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, and maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally.
Joining us now is Al Weaver with The Hill. In his latest article, he writes about how some Republicans are now saying enough with the doll talk. All right, so Al, the president has said a lot of things in his first 100 days, but it seems like the doll talk has really struck a nerve here with those in his own party and even his supporters. Why is that?
No, it's absolutely true, and it's for a couple of reasons. I think the one thing they really fear about Trump and this type of rhetoric is that he sounds a little bit out of touch. They talk about, well, it's you have to talk to somebody who's been struggling financially at some point in their life, and those type of issues, had to deal with scarcity, and that's one thing that Trump really hasn't had to deal with. And so talk about somebody not getting $30. Well, how many people actually can afford $30? That's a question they kind of ask, and it's something they worry about. So they wish that he would talk about something other than dolls. They talk about automobiles, or they talk about kitchen table things that everybody has to deal with in their day-to-day life. It's a concern on there, and that if Trump keeps repeating this, which he has in the last week, that it could be a problem for him.
So I know you've been talking to lawmakers on the Hill. Any sign that the president's actually listening to that and maybe approaching this with a new strategy and leaving out the doll talk?
I mean, not yet at this point. I mean, we've had, about a week now, and he's talked about it at least 3 times between dolls. He's used pencils as an example, and that type of thing. But I think it's gonna see, when someone brings it up again, does he go ahead and do it again, just like he did in the Meet the Press interview over the weekend? I think that's going to be a little bit of a test, and especially as they keep going down this reconciliation road, and more tariffs talk keeps coming down the road. We're going to have. Probably they're talking about having deals introduced in the next couple of weeks, potentially, at least through the summer. We're going to see how his rhetoric shapes up compared to what we've seen in the last week.
Yeah, that's the other D that people would like to see, not dolls, but deals. Where do negotiations stand with China right now?
Treasury Secretary Besant's supposed to be traveling to meet with Chinese officials in the coming days. That's probably the biggest thing that we've seen. Otherwise, there's not been anything concrete in the last few weeks. I know Besant has talked about how there hasn't been up until this latest beginning of talks. But what members are expecting is hopefully more deals with other nations, such as Japan, European countries, that type of thing, will come out in the next couple of weeks. They've been harping on the administration to roll these out one by one, not to release them all at one point in the summer. They want to show the American people and their consumers that they're listening and that they are reacting to this as they go along. They don't want this to be some dog and pony show eventually. They want this to happen right away.
From your conversations, do you get the sense that some lawmakers on the Hill on the Republican side are finding their voice now as the president, is beyond this 100-day mark, and his poll numbers are what they are, the market's really not in a great position? Are you seeing that they are more outspoken at this point?
I don't know if I would say more outspoken. I think they've got a little more comfortable just dealing with the day-to-day. I mean, I think initially the first month or so was a real shock. I kind of forgot about what it was like, 4 to 8 years between 4 to 8 years ago, the first term. The nominations kind of helped, that jolted them a little bit, and we've seen they kind of get their bearings. But I think the ones who are more comfortable speaking, I see Rand Paul, for example, has been really outspoken about tariffs lately. That's one example. But on the other side, there are a lot of members who are still afraid to speak, the whole way, because they still have a lot of things they have to get done with Trump, and they're relying on him for it, especially to get through this tax cut bill the next couple of months. That's the big thing, I think. And especially with their political lives potentially imperiled the next couple of cycles.
Mm-hmm.
You never quite know how that's going to shake out. And the way they view it is it's better have Trump on our side than not. So,
Al Weaver with The Hill, thank you so much for sharing your reporting with me today.